Pull up a chair and dim the light. Leave your worries at the door tonight. No need to whisper, no need to hide. We're all chasing shadows side by side. Southern moon and candle flame. Every ghost has another name. Haunted halls and forgotten dreams. Nothing's ever quite what it seems. Old photographs and dusty frames. Everybody's got stories they can't explain. Somewhere in the quiet between heartbeats, wonder waits for those who see. Did you hear it? Did you see? Tell me what you believe. Was it fate? Was it fear? Or something drawing you near? Curiosity after dark, where we wander through the strange. Every question leaves a mark. Nothing ever stays the same. Ghost stories under midnight skies. Old legends pass through lullabies. Take my hand and lose the fear. Wonder's always welcome here. Curiosity after dark, where restless hearts belong. Searching shadows for a spark, finding wonder in the unknown. Haunted mansions dressed in lace. Footsteps echo through empty space. Vampire myths and whispered lore. 100 secrets behind one door. Disney ghosts and phantom brides. Truth and fiction intertwined. The things we fear, the things we seek, have a funny way of making us believe. True crime headlines and unsolved names. The monsters hiding in familiar frames. The world is stranger than we know, and that's exactly why we go. Stories pass from friend to friend. Questions without easy ends. Somewhere between doubt and faith, we keep searching anyway. Tell me your stories, tell me your fears. Tell me the things you've carried for years. What's in the darkness? What have you seen? Tell me what keeps you wondering. Curiosity after dark, where we wander through the strange. Every question leaves a mark. Nothing ever stays the same. Ghost stories under midnight skies. Old legends pass through lullabies. Take my hand and lose the fear. Wonder is always welcome here. Curiosity after dark, where restless hearts belong. Searching shadows for a spark, finding wonder in the unknown. Maybe monsters wear familiar faces. Maybe angels leave no traces. Maybe every legend starts with someone asking, what if? Maybe myths and memories pass through generations quietly. Maybe truth is stranger still, waiting just beyond the hill. Maybe the things that keep us awake are the questions we were born to chase. Maybe wonder never dies, it just opens different eyes. So tell me what haunts you. Tell me what fascinates you. Tell me the stories you swore were true. Tell me what made you look twice. We'll talk about ghosts and graveyards, about creatures hidden in folklore, about the darkness in humanity and the beauty of not knowing. No judgment here, no need to convince anyone. You don't have to have the answers, just curiosity. Curiosity after dark, where we wander through the strange. Every question leaves a mark. Nothing ever stays the same. Ghost stories under midnight skies. The legends pass through lullabies. another story waiting to be told. Welcome to Curiosity After Dark.
Okay, there we go. Alright, so let me try that all again. Hello, everybody, and welcome in. Um, this is going to be something new that I do. This is Curiosity After Dark, and I'm really excited to do it. Um, Mainly because I have always struggled to find what I need to do on Thursday nights because I want to stream, but I'm slowly getting burned out on a lot of my things. So I decided I'm going to do this. And also, I can, upload this to other platforms for, other viewing stuff. So, anyway, so this is my podcast and I'm going to start off with something that kind of has everything that I want. And it is obviously we're going to talk about the Haunted Mansion and I love it. And so, just to let y'all know, since I am streaming this, we're still gonna laugh. We're still gonna get distracted. We still might game afterwards, depending on how far I get into it. And chat is absolutely encouraged to be the chaos that y'all can be. Just because that's kind of the stuff that we do. But for this particular night and for the podcast in general, we're going to talk about the strange things, uncomfortable things, fascinating things, stories people tell, questions that don't have easy answers, rabbit holes that I tend to fall down. Some weeks it will be ghosts, some weeks it can be urban legends, sometimes it can be true crime. Um, it's just whatever I want to do. Um, it could be mental health, history, folklore, especially Disney, because we're touching on that tonight. Internet mysteries, anything that's weird, a weird little topic or weird little fascination that my mind has decided to focus on. Uh, Disclaimer: I am not an expert at all. Uh, and I'm not here to convince anybody to believe in anything. This is kind of just a conversation and something to give you knowledge on something. The world is weird, people are weird, and being the best part or being uh human is about sitting down and talking about this kind of stuff to everyone else. So, I have come up with the thing of if I'm thinking about this, maybe somebody else is. So, there we go. So, right now, grab your snacks, get comfy, pour you a drink. I'm going to be drinking water, not that y'all can see that, but I'll be drinking water. And tonight for the first Curiosity After Dark, we are going to discuss the Haunted Mansion. Now, before I really get into it, um, who has ever ridden the Haunted Mansion? Whether it be in Disney World, Disneyland, or if you've been lucky enough to travel, have you visited Mystic Manor or Phantom Manor? Who has watched the movies? And if you've never experienced any of it, would you? Would you like to? So, if y'all didn't know, I love the Haunted Mansion. It's one of my things. And if you are brand new to me, um, I love Disney. I love things supernatural. I don't like horror at all, which is really, really weird considering that, I like supernatural stuff, but I don't like it just for, like, I just don't like mindless horror. All right, I don't. So, um, yeah, I just don't like that. So, I don't like being chased by a chainsaw. I don't enjoy sitting 2 hours of stress just to find out that everyone dies at the end. I don't do that. But I do like ghost stories and legends and weird little stories that families pass down, things that have happened to people, because some stuff has happened to me. And whether you believe in ghosts or not, it is known that humans have always been fascinated by what comes after death. And every culture has the stories. Everyone, like every town has that one house. Oh my goodness! You've been a mod for 6 months? Oh, we gotta celebrate that. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get my things in here. Hold on. Where are my tools? There we go.
Hello, princess. Daddy here with your weekend weather.
Ah! Thank you for being one of my mods. I appreciate you so much. Guys, if you haven't followed Dingus, go follow Dingus. She's amazing. All right. So every town has that one house that everyone swears is haunted or is cursed or something. Um and funny enough, Haunted Mansion like kind of taps into that. And it's great. We got a stream streak. Ooh, go P Money. All right. So the great thing about the Haunted Mansion is it's not, I mean, it technically is spooky. Technically, it is dramatic, but it's also comical and whimsical and stuff. So, just a little history before we get into it. And yes, by the way, I did do some research. So, I'm reading notes as I'm doing this because why not? And you may still hear Aelin in the background, just to let y'all know. But a little history on the Haunted Mansion. And the original Haunted Mansion opened in Disneyland in 1969. Sit down. No, sit down. I'm not doing this to you. Okay. The Disney World version opened up in 1971, and then Disneyland Paris opened up much later. They gave us Phantom Manor, and each attraction. Well, Phantom Manor has a whole different story than the haunted mansions in Disneyland and Disney World. Those are roughly the exact same. Disney World has a longer ride and technically has more ghosts, but we'll get into that later. Phantom Manor actually has a whole story behind it. And so it's kind of cool, and we're gonna dive into each different thing. So, if I need to put on some music, let me know. I don't know what to do with any of this, so far I like that I just have my background and my avatar, and that's about it. That's all I got. All right, so for Disneyland, uh, it was built with a southern plantation house look because it's situated in New Orleans Square. It has a nice wide porch. It has white columns. It has an elegant, garden, somewhat. And since I'm a nice Southern girl, that doesn't really scream horror to me at all. It doesn't scream spooky. It just screams, "Hey, it's historic." Mainly because I can literally drive down the road and see old plantation houses. Um, and so it literally when I see something like that, I'm just like, oh, if I go inside that place, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna find sweet tea, right? Um, so it's nice to know that when it comes to the Haunted Mansion, the design for Disneyland is it's not completely run down. Not all ghosts live in castles or in really creepy areas. Like if you go and look at the facade of the Haunted Mansion, it actually looks decent. It looks upkept. It looks good. And I like to think it's because they are in places that look actually lived in, so it's nice. Now, when you get into it, though, like once you step through those doors, everything changes, and I think it's amazing. So we have the portraits that stretch, the lights dim, and then there's the ghost host that tells you there's 999 happy haunts, and you're just like, oh, that went from being, oh, sweet tea to we're fixing to be haunted or see some ghosties, which is fine. Um, but again, for me, honestly, every plantation house around here, 9 times out of 10 is haunted. So I was like, okay, that checks out, right? Now for Disney World, um, her version is a little different. And actually, to be honest, besides the facade itself, well, one, Disney World's closer to me. But I actually prefer Disney World's version because I like the aesthetic of it's Victorian Gothic, and it kind of has that Rocky Horror Picture Show vibes. Um, she looks like the house that you would see at the end of the road in like a dark wooded area. Like that's the honest to goodness spooky haunted stuff. Like if you take Casper for example, that's a mansion. That's a you know, it doesn't look like a plantation house. That's a like but for Disney World, um like honestly I can see like Frankenfurter like in the window. That's what I kind of expect. And I like it just because Rocky Horror is funny. Um but it's also like once you get into the ride, it's kind of theatrical, it's kind of campy, so like it fits. And then you have, the your stars of the show besides the ghosts. You have very specific ghosts. We have Madame Leota, we have the singing busts, we have the dead literally performing there. No one is haunting quietly there at all. And it's great. And one of my favorite things is usually the weird ones always throw the best parties. So this is fantastic. Now we're getting into Phantom Manor. And Phantom Manor is completely different. It does not take the whimsical, it does not take the campy fun thing. It actually has a very tragic story to it. And it really leans into tragedy of loss, obsession. It's more of a gothic romance. Um like comparing everything, Disneyland Sweet Tea, Disney World's Rocky Horror, Phantom Manor is dark fantasy written at 2 a.m. while listening to sad music. Um and for y'all, if y'all were going to be a ghost, what kind of ghost would y'all want to be? Right? I don't know what kind of ghost I would be, to be honest. Like that sounds kind of interesting. That's good, food for thought type there. All right, so I mentioned earlier about the stretching room or the portraits that stretch. It's one of the key rooms when you first walk into the ride, and it's absolutely like fantastic. Like it's so iconic, and that most people don't realize that there's a lot of artwork or things that actually reference the stretching room. Um, and as soon as you walk in, the doors close. The ghost host starts talking. The room stretches. The paintings change, and then you're immediately thinking, what in the world have I gotten myself into? Um, because now you're trapped in a room, and literally the ghost host says there are no windows and no doors. So it's kind of one of those what have I done kind of situations. And when you're in this room, honestly, you're packed in like sardines. So it's very, very funny to notice people who are generally scared or who are generally enjoying the experience, because you're always going to have the one that's absolutely terrified of the ride. Like, they don't see it as fun and campy. They view it as this is absolutely terrifying. Now, 9 times out of 10, those people are children, but still. So, like, when you first see the ghost host, somebody screams. I'm not going to spoil it, but somebody screams. All right. Aylin, would you stop? I am trying to work here. Get up there. All right. So now let's talk about Madame Leota. Lay down. Lay down. All right. So Madame Leota is uh basically customer service in a sense. She's um she's elegant, she's unbothered. When you first meet her, she's floating in a crystal ball, she's calling the spirits. When you enter the seance room, everything changes. Like, that's the for Disneyland and Disney World, that particular room is what switches the vibe. So beforehand, we're going into this house, and it's creepy, it's quiet. You see some strange things, you hear some strange things, um, but you don't see any ghosts. You don't see anything like that, right? And then once you cross the seance room, everything changes. Can I help you? Y'all have to forgive me. Aylin is like all up on me. Like, she doesn't know what personal space means right now. Can I help you? Can I help you? Get up there. Get up there. Go lay down. Okay. So anyway, back to this. Um, you're observing, and then now you're participating, because once you go through the seance room, it's kind of like you are part of the story now. Now, we get after the seance room, we get into my favorite room, which is the ballroom. And the ballroom scene is beautiful. You have ghosts dancing, you have people celebrating birthdays, arguing, dueling, existing, and I just love that, because the dead aren't monsters, they're residents, and we're visiting their home. We got told that this was, a house that has 999 haunts. So clearly, ghosts are living here. And their social life is like way better than mine. I don't like that, but it is what it is. Now, there is a few particular ghosts. Like, we've already discussed Madame Leota, and now we're getting into one of the other ghosts that is very known in the Haunted Mansion, and that is Constance Hatchaway. Um, she is the bride. She is the queen of red flags. She's had multiple husbands, multiple funerals, and in the attic, it's very interesting how the portraits have disappearing heads. And another fun fact, this is a little Easter egg. If you ever actually pay attention to said portraits, you can tell which marriage she is on by counting the number of pearls she has on her neck, like her pearl necklaces. She gets pearls after each husband. Um, and so at this point, you're just like, okay, we're in a creepy attic. It's nice. It's cool. And then you run into Constance, and then you realize that you might be in trouble because she does have this unfortunate habit of having disappearing husbands, and it may or may not have anything to do with the hatchet that she holds. You know, um, and also that's like the attic scene is the last scene that you were in before you were in the swinging wake. And there's a theory that Constance pushes you out the window. And now you join the swinging wake. Like, you actually get to join in. Now, the Hatbox Ghost has disappeared and reappeared. When Disneyland first opened, the effect didn't really work. And he then became an urban legend, and then all of a sudden, in the past several years, Disney brought him back. He, in Disneyland, he appears right before you fall out the window, right? In Disney World, and this is what I have a slight problem with, he appears in the hallway. He appears in the long corridor with the floating candle. He appears right there, which to me it doesn't fit him, but I am not an Imagineer, so I don't get paid the big bucks for any of that. So they don't listen to my opinion, okay? I am just a fan. It's who I am. Can I help you? Do you need to go outside? Or do you just want attention? You just want attention. Do you want in my lap? Do you want in my lap? No? Okay. Alright. So far, out of all the ghosts that we have discussed, who is y'all's favorite? No! No, ma'am. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Good girl. I'm trying to teach my dog to let me be while I'm streaming. Lay down. Alright. My favorite, to be honest, are the dancers in the ballroom. Those are my favorite. Alright. So, we've discussed Disney World. We've discussed Disneyland. We've discussed a little bit of Phantom Manor. Let's talk about the movies. So, I grew up watching the Eddie Murphy movie, and is it cheesy? Absolutely. Do I care? No. Because it's fun. It's comical. Now, the newer movie, I like it better because it leans into grief and found family. Both approaches work because a Haunted Mansion isn't just one story. It's vibes, it's the atmosphere, it's campy, it's tragedy, it's asking, what if death wasn't just scary? What if it was messy, funny, bittersweet? It can be interpreted in so many different ways. All right. With the Eddie Murphy movie, it leans more into Master Gracie, and who is one of the owners, the original owner, or one of the owners of the Haunted Mansion itself. And then you have the newer one, which actually focuses on other ghosts that you don't particularly see in the ride itself, but they do have parts to do with the lore behind the Haunted Mansion of like the captain, the bride, and the fact of in the newer movie, it hints at both rides of like it takes place in New Orleans. So obviously you're gonna have the Southern Plantation house. That is the house. Now the Crump house, the Crump mansion, is the Victorian Gothic mansion that we have in Disney World. So I like it. It has both um several of the ghosts that are mentioned in the queue and in the house itself, as well as uh both rides, both facades. So let's get into some deeper stuff. Let's actually I barely touched on the Phantom Manor, so let's go into that. I need to look up specifics for the Phantom Manor real quick. I thought I was prepared. Clearly, I am not. All right, so with Phantom Manor, this is where it's interesting and great. Clearly, I need to work on my thoughts and how they line up because clearly I'm ADHD and I clearly can't do this. I mean, I can do this, but I also can't do this. All right, so we have Phantom Manor that is in Disneyland Paris, and it actually ties into Thunder Mesa, which is right beside the ride. And it's very, very interesting. Like the Phantom Manor actually has a actual story to it, while Disneyland and Disney World really don't. It's just vibes, right? We're going off of vibes, but Phantom Manor, um, is heartbreaking. The only thing that Phantom Manor has is the bride, and that is Melanie Ravenswood. She is the daughter of a wealthy mining family that is living in Thunder Mesa, which is like that park's version of the Old West. All right. So we have Frontierland that at least for Disney World. I can't speak much on Disneyland, but for Disney World, you have Frontierland that has uh Big Thunder Mountain. It used to have Tom Sawyer's Island. It also used to be uh that's also where um Country Bear Jamboree is at. And Peso oh, what is that restaurant called? It's really, really good. Anyway, there's a fast food restaurant over there. It's delicious. Anyway, um, but for Paris, Melanie was engaged to the love of her life, and everything was supposed to be perfect until her fiance dies under mysterious circumstances on their wedding day. Um, and so here's where some theories come in. And that is her father actually is the one that made the fiance disappear. Um but here's where it really gets like juicy and great. She is basically Mrs. Havisham. Okay? She is in her wedding dress. She does not leave. She is um just waiting in the manor for her love to come back. All right. Um and I love that because that's the one thing I think of Great Expectations. I think that's the book that I enjoyed was Miss Havisham. Like she didn't care. Like she cared, but she didn't care. But she never. So Melanie never leaves. She stays in the manor. She's always wearing her wedding dress, and that over time, she falls into herself. Of like she loses herself, and due to the grief and obsession and then wanders. Oh, Jesus. Oh, gosh, that scared me. I was deep into my notes, and you scared me. Whew. Oh, my gosh. Okay. Hello, Shaw. How are you? All right, so she loses herself. Oh, no, you're fine. You're absolutely fine because I'm stumbling through my first podcast anyway. So we're good. Okay, so she loses herself into grief and obsession, and she just wanders the halls, and eventually people call her the Phantom Bride. Um, but she's not the only spirit in the house, or she's not the only entity in this house. There is a dark spirit known as the Phantom. Now, like I said earlier, it depends on which version of the story you believe or want to go with. Because some theorize that he's Melanie's possessed father, Henry Ravenswood refusing to let his daughter go, or it's just an evil force that fed on the tragedy surrounding the family. Because so Henry invested into Thunder Mesa, that's the mining stuff, and tragedy did strike there, and so it kind of may be like a part of what was going on, with whatever. And but the Phantom itself is basically like the Phantom of the Opera. If I can't have what I want, no one can, right? He manipulates the events. He traps Melanie in her grief. And he turns the house itself into a monument of loss. So when it comes to the comparing, clearly we have, in New Orleans Square, we have the Southern Plantation. Very warm, very welcoming, has that Southern hospitality. Disney World has, all right, we're fixing to join the afterlife talent show type thing. Phantom Manor is like, hey, would you like some generational trauma, unresolved grief, and toxic attachment while riding through a haunted mining town? No? Well, you're getting it anyway. And when it comes to Phantom Manor, I just love the story. I love the story. Now, there is another version of the Haunted Mansion. However, does not it does not contain any ghosts, just because of the culture. And that is Mystic Manor, which is in Hong Kong. They don't view spirits very kindly. Those are more they're more as like the things you kind of stay away from. I can't think of the word right now. I'm tired. But they don't they don't mess with spirits, right? They don't do that. They are not likely to bust out a Ouija board like some people would. I will not ever. But, some people like that. I don't. So, now we've discussed the differences in the Haunted Mansion. Now let's discuss some history, because it's fun to learn about the history of the Haunted Mansion, right? Um so it was fantastic, as so when Walt was creating Disneyland, Disneyland, or the Haunted Mansion, was not an opening day attraction. It was for Disney World, but it was not for Disneyland. Um and Walt Disney, he loved ghost stories. I mean, who doesn't, right? Clearly, y'all are tapped into me because y'all know that I like ghost stories, or that y'all just love me for me. Either way, I appreciate it. Um, but he loved ghost stories, but he doesn't. Oh my god! Okay, hi Nolan. You missed majority of the story tonight, the topic of tonight. You're at work. Ooh, how was work? That's nice. I forgot you got the job. Congrats. All right. So, we're discussing the Haunted Mansion. I've already discussed the differences between the different versions and the movies. Now we're going into the history. Trying to get a different temp job. Oh, well, I believe in you. So Walt wanted a haunted house because you can't really go anywhere that doesn't have a haunted house, right? Um oh, I do like that emote. It's so cute. Ah! I've been into creating things as well. I love it. All right. So Walt hated the idea of something cheap and tacky. I mean, he wanted, Disneyland and Disney World to be places that you can kind of forget, that you can use your imagination on, right? And in the 1950s, haunted attractions were exactly what you would expect, which was dark rooms, monsters jumping out at people, lots of screaming. I mean, that's not much different from today, right? A lot of your haunted attractions, especially in October, are exactly that, right? But Walt wanted more. He wanted atmosphere, he wanted storytelling, he wanted guests to laugh one minute and maybe get chills the next. And then there is the famous thing that Imagineers have said about Walt when it came to the outside of the mansion, which is what I think is very nice. And it is, we will take care of the outside, the ghosts will can take care of the inside. And that is absolutely fantastic. Now, since Disneyland's version was not an opening day attraction, there was some issues with it. And this is fascinating to me. And I got majority of this information from the actual documentary um behind the attraction that's on Disney Plus. I have watched every single episode. And of course, I like to know about things like that. And so they built the facade because it fit in New Orleans Square. Like that, it checks out. Like you're supposedly down there in the South, and so you're gonna have a Southern type house, right? The problem was that they built the facade, but didn't figure out what they wanted to do with it. So people could see it. They walked up to the gate, and it was closed for a while. All right. Um, and because people like kept throwing different ideas out to Walt Disney, and so it was like, what is it supposed to be? Is it supposed to be scary? Is it supposed to be funny? Is it supposed to be serious? What is it supposed to be? And uh the one of the biggest creative arguments actually happened between two Imagineers, which is Claude Coates and Marc Davis. Um, Coates wanted genuine horror, the dark hallways, the creeping dread, the feeling that something was wrong. Marc Davis wanted humor. He wanted visual gags, ghosts with personalities, playful moments, and honestly, technically, both worked. And that is why the Disneyland and Disney World's versions, once you enter the seance room, the vibe completely changes. So, like, from the entrance to the seance room, you have Coates's version of what he wanted. You have the stretching room, the endless hallway, the footsteps, the whispers, the you don't know what you're walking into kind of vibe, right? Of what's popping up around every corner. And then once you meet Madame Leota and she kind of does her little seance, the ballroom opens up and then you see everything, right? You see everybody. And that's where Marc Davis takes over, right? You have graveyards, you have the ghosts in the graveyard singing. It's a swinging wake. It's spooky, it's fun, it's eerie, and it's theatrical. And to me, that's the beauty of it. This happened, you know, forever ago. It feels like, and it still works today, right? It's still one of the popular attractions It's definitely one of my favorite attractions. I don't think, like, if I go down to Disney World, there's two rides I have to ride every time I go, right? And it is the Tower of Terror, that's my favorite, and then the Haunted Mansion, right? Because both have that kind of vibe. Now, Tower of Terror is that's gonna be a whole nother episode. I love it, but Haunted Mansion is just so nice because there is something for everybody to enjoy, right? Because it's a slow ride, it's a dark ride, so there there is chances where children might get scared, but if you can get them through majority of the ride, it becomes fun. It becomes entertaining for them. And for those who like the whimsical and stuff, well, you have that throughout the queue, you have that throughout the house. There's Easter eggs everywhere. It's great. One of my favorite Easter eggs is there's a hidden Mickey in the ballroom. Um, and dinner plates. It's dinner plates at the birthday that is happening. Because half of the ballroom, there's so much going on in the ballroom. Um, you have um you have people celebrating a birthday, you have the dancers, you have the guy playing the organ, you have the dueling brothers or the dueling guys up top, you have people swinging from the chandelier. Like, it is insane. And the ballroom itself has a very cool effect that I didn't mention earlier when I was discussing this, and that's Pepper's ghost. And it is so cool. It is fantastic. Um, Aylin, come here. I am trying to talk. I wish you would be good just once. Just once. Get up there. You got food, you got water. Alright. So, since more of y'all are in here, have y'all ever been to Disney World or Disneyland? Have y'all ridden the ride? Do y'all like it? What do y'all think about it? You know, hey, Aylin. Aylin Bell. Get up there. Um, oh, this is another tidbit. And I'm gonna finish this up and then we're gonna go into gaming. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna figure out which game I want to play. But yeah. Um, the sad part about the Haunted Mansion is that Walt Disney never got to experience it. He never saw it finished. Um, he died in 1966. The attraction didn't open until 1969. So he never saw it completed. He never saw Disney World completed. He died before then. And it's weird and kind of fitting that one of his most iconic attractions opened without the man who wanted to see it complete. Um, and that it's very fitting because you have a bunch of um stuff in it of, I think, an Imagineer. um I can't remember if it was her daughter, but an Imagineer voices Madame Leota, and I think um I might be saying this wrong, but an Imagineer gave her voice and face to Madame Leota. And also, so there's another little cute thing. There is a pet cemetery um at the Haunted Mansion, and this is in both Disney World and Disneyland. But Disney World actually has a legit um pet cemetery, and there are some Easter eggs in that cemetery. Um, and there are cats and dogs and birds and unusual animals. And I always stop and look. Mr. Toad has a um has a tombstone um in the pet cemetery. So it's really nice, and yeah, I should have brought out my notes a little bit better. I'm just rambling at this point. Um because here's some more. I forgot, I should have put this in later or earlier, not later. So, when it comes to Madame Leota, it's not just random. It actually comes from like a very real movement. So in the Victorian era, spiritualism like exploded, right? Um, People held seances, used spirit boards. Please, for the love of God, never use a spirit board around me. I will chunk it out the window. I will burn it. I don't like them. And people attended demonstrations by mediums. A lot of folks then who had lost loved ones desperately wanted to believe that they could communicate with them. And so, um, they tried. And a lot of people, wanted to do this, especially after the Civil War. Um, that it's really weird to think that grief created a whole cultural movement. Um, and so when Madame Leota starts calling spirits, it's not just for whimsical stuff. It's actually a part of history. That's what people might have done. There's different versions of how you do a séance. There's different ways you can tap into to that. And that's what Madame Leota is. And the lore is Madame Leota was a very good medium. So there is that. So it's very nice that she herself became a ghost in the Haunted Mansion. Um, and this is the real reason I started with the Haunted Mansion as the first Curiosity After Dark is because I am fascinated with things that are in all cultures, especially supernatural stuff. So like every civilization has stories about spirits, ancestors. I can't talk now. Ancestors and hauntings and the dead returning and warnings from beyond. Different names, different beliefs, but similar ideas, right? Like we know this from Phasmophobia of like we have different spirits that do different things, but relatively it's still a haunting, right? It's still probably going to kill you while you're like in a closet trying to hide because someone coughed or something on the radio, right? Um but sometimes when it comes to all this, it's very fascinating to me that our ghost stories aren't just about ghosts. Like it's about grief. It could be about love, fear, and justice. The hope that people just that we lose just don't simply disappear. That our actions follow us. Desire that our stories matter, and that I feel like that says a lot about us. But that's kind of why I feel that the Haunted Mansion has lasted for so long. Of under the jokes and the singing busts, it's something incredibly human. It's what happens when the lights go out. Do we just fade away, or do we go and like haunt a really cool old house? So I think it's great. So yeah, what'd y'all think? Did y'all enjoy my thing? I will take um any critiques I know for sure the first thing I need to do is reorganize my notes and get a nice uh, flow instead of being like, oh, hey, by the way, this. Oh, hey, by the way, that. I need to work on that a little bit better. But what do y'all think? Did I do good? Is this something that y'all would like to see every Thursday? Or at least try to be every Thursday? And I can do different stuff. Like if there's another topic that you want me to look into, um, because like I might I might here in a second look up like the psychology of ghost stories because that's gonna be cool to tie it into the haunted mansion. Like we can discuss other ghost stories. If I plan on discussing um different um ghosts that are actually present in all cultures, or I could take just a cultural dive. Um, because there's so many fascinating things, and I just I was gonna want to look into that kind of stuff, right? Um, so yeah. Anyway, that is the end of the podcast itself. And I still have an hour to stream. So I'm going to boot up a game. Let me look into what game I want to boot up because it's spooky. Um, or I want to go with spooky vibes. So what spooky games do I have? I have Phasmophobia. I have The Other Side. If I want to be sad and become a ghost, I think I'll do Marvel Rivals. I'm not doing Freddy Fazbear. That's a noob. That's a noob. Ooh, Dead by Daylight might be a good one. Castlevania. That's gonna be its own podcast later. Um, let's do. I think Phasmophobia might be a good one to start off with tonight. 'Cause why not? We just talked about the haunted mansion, and we'll do ghosts. We'll do ghosties. We can do that. Let me change this though. Let me zoom her in. There we go. All right. Okay. And I'm not gonna put on music because there's no point in doing so. But we're gonna play some Phasmophobia for about an hour, and then I'm gonna go to bed. Cause why not? Why not? Why not? If it ever pops up, I might have to exit out and try again. That would be funny. Okay, let's exit out and try again. Close program. All right. How's everyone doing still? Everyone good? I hope everyone's good. I'm enjoying my little avatar. I think she's cute. I can get right up close. I can back away. Well, we might just call it a day. It doesn't want me to play. If it doesn't work, I'm just gonna call it a night and yep. Okay. So we're just gonna end it. We're gonna end it. I'm gonna play something else. I love you guys. Thank y'all for being here tonight.
Welcome
Oh,
back.
now it wants
What's
to.
next for you?
Okay, now it wants to work. That's cool. I see. I was fixing to say, fuck it and leave.
Looks like there are others out there in need of help.
VR is not required. God no. No, 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 no. Okay. Okay, so it actually can. Okay. Okay. Now we wait. Now we wait. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and call it. Yeah. Let's see who's live.
Welcome back. I've prepared some jobs for you.
Alright, we're gonna raid into Rotero. So y'all go be nice. I'll see y'all later. Bye.